King Robert has died. Joffrey is now king, and Ned Stark has been arrested and sent to the dungeons for treason. In response, the young wolf, Robb Stark, assembled a host of 12,000 men and began marching south, gathering more soldiers as he marched down the King's Road. He arrives at Moat Cailin with 18,000 men. There he meets up with his mother and his great-uncle, Sir Brendan Tully, the Blackfish, and an additional 1,500 men from White Harbor. Robb continues his march south to relieve Riverrun, which is now controlled by the Lannisters after Jaime's forces defeated Edmure Tully. Robb now has two choices: to cross the Green Fork at the Twins, where Lord Walder Frey has remained neutral, or at the Ruby Ford, where Lord Tywin can easily seal them off.
So what's it gonna be? Do we move against Jaime or Lord Tywin?
Robb decides to do both. He keeps his infantry marching down the King's Road under the command of Roose Bolton to engage Tywin, while he secretly takes his cavalry and crosses the Twins. Reports reach the Lannister camp that the Northern Army has begun marching south. They prepare for battle, but Roose Bolton keeps marching throughout the night and surprises the Lannisters early next morning. In the center of the Lannister army was Tywin's brother, Sir Kevan, commanding 10,000 men. The right was all cavalry. There were 4,000 knights and heavy lancers. In the left, Sir Gregor Clegane commanded 1,000 mounted men, consisting of Tyrion and his clansmen, free riders, sellswords, and small folk from Lannisport. Tywin personally commanded the reserve, made up of 5,000 men, half mounted and half on foot. The Lannister army in total had at least 20,000 men on the field, compared to the smaller northern army of about 17,000 men. In the TV show, they skipped over the entire battle by having Tyrion knocked out, but in the books he describes the battle and fights in the vanguard atop a horse wearing a spiked helm and holding a battle axe. Sir Gregor Clegane ordered Tyrion and his men to take the left and hold the river. Tywin had placed his undisciplined men on the left to tempt Robb to overcommit, and as the Lannister vanguard would retreat, Kevan and the center would turn left and attack the Northerners in the flank. Tyrion heard the sound of a war horn, and the Lannister trumpets answered. Arrows from Tyrion's right filled the air as the Northerners started to charge. The trumpet sounded again. Sir Gregor ordered a charge and the vanguard rode forward. A shield wall of Karstark spearmen had formed ahead. Sir Gregor's horse, angered by spearheads slashing across his neck, lunged into the ranks, and spear thrusts came from every angle. But the shield wall broke beneath the weight, and the clansmen rushed in. Another wave of arrows fell, killing both Stark and Lannister men. By now Tyrion was in the thick of battle. A soldier thrust a spear at his chest, but Tyrion managed to block it with his axe. As the man came in for a second try, Tyrion spurred his horse and rode right over him. Moments later he rode after another man and killed him with a sweeping downcut from his axe. He spotted another Stark soldier and charged. The tall man, sword in hand, had lost his helm, so Tyrion aimed his axe at his face, but the man slammed it aside and screamed, "Dwarf!" Tyrion rode in circles, hacking at his head, but the man was quicker and stronger. He screamed "Die" as he chopped down on Tyrion's helm, which made his head ring. And just as the tall man started smiling, Tyrion's horse bit his face, leaving only his cheekbone. He screamed and Tyrion buried his axe in his head and said, "You die." Another man came thundering towards him, screaming for Eddard and Winterfell. The knight was swinging the spiked ball of a morning star. Before Tyrion could react, their war horses slammed together. The man crushed Tyrion's elbow with the morning star and then struck him in the face. He fell off his horse. The man yelled at Tyrion, "Do you yield?" while Tyrion was fumbling for a weapon. "Yield or die." Tyrion jumped to his feet and drove his spiked helmet into the horse's belly. The horse had fallen on its rider's leg, and the arm he used to break the fall was broken and twisted. He drew his sword and threw it at Tyrion's feet. The battle had moved away from Tyrion. Sir Kevan and the center had moved in to support the left, and had pushed the Northerners back into the hills. The trumpets sounded again, and Tywin's reserve came up along the river. Moments later, Tywin learns that the Stark boy had crossed the Twins with his cavalry and was headed for Riverrun.
You call me boy again. Go on.
Robb was able to keep his march secret and had set up a trap for his enemy. During the night, Robb sends out the Blackfish with a few hundred men carrying Tully banners to raid the Lannister camp and draw them deeper into the forest. As Jaime and his men follow the raiders into the Whispering Wood, the sound of a war horn blasts from deep within the forest, a signal that the last of Jaime's riders have entered the trap. Then Grey Wind lets out a howl that makes Catelyn Stark shiver. She was hiding high on a ridge under the protection of a guard of Winterfell. Horns blew from every direction, and the bowmen that Robb had hidden in the trees started shooting arrows down on the Lannister men. Robb shouted Winterfell, and he began leading his men downhill. When Jaime saw that the battle was lost, he rallied his remaining men and fought his way up the valley, shouting for Robb. While trying to reach him, he managed to kill 3 of Robb's personal guard before he was captured.
By the time they knew what was happening, it had already happened.